Hi there, this is Vadim, and in this quick video I would like to share with you top 10 tips and tricks to help you get ready and pass employment assessment test.
Let me share with you some tips and tricks that work for me on how to best get prepared for the assessment test. Number one, and probably the most important, is practicing in advance before the test. How can you do it? For example, you can build your test habits just by going and practicing answering questions and answers. It will build a habit of you answering the questions. It exposes you to different types of questions, and some of them might be exactly or very similar questions that you see on the test. It also allows you to save time during the preparation and during the test itself, because once you know what types of questions you have, you're not going to be surprised or will not see the new types of questions that you didn't expect. And surprises is what typically catches you off guard and makes your life harder during the test. Number two is getting a study guide, outline, or training preparation, ebook, or some other material that will help you to get ready and pass the test. This is very important because it provides you a system to get ready and pass the test. Another important point, small incremental improvements daily are much more important than delaying everything until the last day before the test and doing some preparation right before the test. If you stick to regular schedule, you will absorb material much better, and also it allows you incremental improvements toward your goal. Maintaining positive attitude and competitiveness is also extremely important and helps some people to get ready. For example, you can set a goal for yourself, whatever works for you. Maybe a goal might be do better than other candidates. So some positive goal that will keep you motivated and keeps you going and get ready for the test.
Let's take a look at some tips and tricks to help you pass employment assessment test now in 2021.
Let me share with you tips and tricks to succeed in the assessment test in 2021. Number one is be prepared to take assessment test at home. Due to COVID, a lot of companies are switching to that mode. Keep in mind that you might be monitored and timed. Also, if you don't know and it's not provided in the documentation, ask your provider or administrator how to handle bathroom visits and phone calls and other important things that are part of your daily life. Number two is research the company. Check which provider administers tests for them. Research the provider themselves. A lot of times providers might have sample questions from the test on their website. And last but not least in this category is anticipate questions based on the job position. For example, if you're applying for accountant job or bookkeeper job, you might be asked to pass Excel assessment test. Nothing new this year, as item number 3 shows, you need to practice, practice, and practice right before the test. The best way to do it is to refresh your hands-on skills and then take the practice tests. And number 4, last but not least, if you didn't pass, reflect after the test. Review test results, understand all of your mistakes, take notes, and use reflections to get ready for your next test.
Let's take a look at some planning tips to see if they might be helpful for you to get ready and pass the test.
Let me share with you how to get prepared and use your time effectively during preparation for the test. One of the first things you need to do is determine what types of tests are conducted for the type of job that you're applying for. Typically, this information is available from employers, job application, and sometimes from the test providers. After you understand what types of tests are conducted, you need to realistically assess your situation to determine how well are you prepared for the test. You might have applied for this type of job in the past, and you might have taken the tests in the past, which will give you a good idea of what you're looking for. Sometimes things might be very new to you, and you need to understand what is the testable material, how do you prepare for the test, what are the preparation sources. Another important consideration here is how much time do you have to get ready. And at that time, you need to create a plan, potentially put it on a weekly schedule to determine how much time can you spend and allocate for test preparation. You also need to make sure you make study a priority and you close the gaps strategically. For example, if you know what the gaps are in the materials that you don't know, you want to make sure you target those particular areas that specifically highlighted on the test. You also need to make sure that you strategically use shortcuts. You might realize that you don't have all the time to prepare as fully as you would like, and you might need to omit some materials to minimize the damage. The key is to make sure that you omit material that may be not used as part of the test, or less likely to be used during the test. You also want to make sure that you set a reasonable schedule for the preparation. You want to make sure that you put on a schedule all other commitments that you have, and then find the available time to get ready and prepare for the test. And the last but not least step is to execute with the discipline and reevaluate as needed. If you find out that something is not working, it might be a good time to reevaluate and see how you can achieve target results and still complete all the goals that you set for yourself.
Over the years, I built a checklist of what to do during the assessment day. Let's look at this checklist to see if it might be helpful for you as well.
A lot of people, including myself, feel very anxious on the test day. Even though sometimes anxiety might be helpful to keep you on track in your preparation and make sure you deliver on your goals and commitments, during the test it is detrimental to have an anxiety. You need to be as relaxed as possible and calm down with all your worries. The best way to do it is to get a good night's sleep before the test day, as well as eat very good breakfast to make sure you have positive energy flowing through your body. Very frequently, you have an opportunity to complete the test from home. Even though it might be a good idea, it's very important to understand that you need to find a comfortable place where you will avoid the distractions. I heard the cases when people were locking themselves in the closet or in the bathroom just to make sure that they don't have any noises or interruptions and can fully concentrate during the test. Any distractions might be extremely detrimental, and it's very important to find a quiet place inside your house. I recommend that you find a comfortable and quiet place wherever you're planning to take the test to make sure that disturbances or distractions don't have any impact on your test score. A lot of providers share with you specific written instructions or introductory video on how to complete the test. It is very, very important for you to carefully read them, watch the video, and understand. If you're unsure what to do during the test, make sure to ask and contact your administrator before starting the assessment. A lot of test providers and administrators allow notepad and calculator. Please make sure to check what's allowed in your particular situation, and you probably can do it ahead of time. And once you know, make sure you bring these items into the test room. And last but not least, a lot of times there is a practice before the test. This is something that provider or administrator allows you to do just to make sure that your equipment operates as expected. Make sure you do this and don't miss this option before starting your test.
A lot of times I get a question on how to use your time during the test most effectively. Let's look at the common sense tips and tricks that might be helpful for you during the test.
Let me share with you some tips to better plan your time during the actual test. There are two types of tests: limited tests that are timed, where you have limited time to complete the test, as well as tests that are unlimited in time. But there is a catch for unlimited times. You can't leave a room, and typically you can't use electronics. So understanding the procedure here is the key. And the reason for that is because you may need to use the bathroom or answer some text messages or urgent phone calls. So ask the provider. Make sure you know the procedure, read the material, and finalize all of this before test actually starts. You will be monitored, and most likely you will get feedback if something is not working, and your test results could be invalidated if you don't follow the procedure. For the tests that are timed, you need to calculate the time that you can use for each question, and you need to set up a timer at the beginning of a test, if this is allowed. For example, if you have a test with 40 questions and 1 hour allowed for the entire test, you can calculate how much time do you have per actual question. For example, if you have a 50-question test and you have about 100 minutes that allowed for the entire test, you can calculate that amount of time you can use per each question would be approximately 2 minutes. This is calculated by dividing 100 by 50 and gives you 2 minutes or approximately 120 seconds. Once you understand this value per question and have the timer running, you can adjust as you go through the test. And last but not least is to give yourself a few minutes in the end for unexpected. Even if you finished early, make sure you use your time in the end to validate you answered all the questions and don't have any gaps in your answers. Another tip might be to review challenging questions once again if you have extra time to make sure you submit the quality results and confident that you did the best you could on the test.
Let's take a look at some considerations when you take an employment assessment test from home.
A lot of tests are being conducted from home today. Let me give you some tips how to succeed on the home-based test and get the best score. Number 1, you want to gather everything you need ahead of time and organize yourself. Create a checklist of what you might need if you're taking tests from home, and then keep things in your bag. Maybe call it a test bag or test location, from where you can just grab all these things that you need and put them on the table. Another important thing is consider setting up your computer ahead of time. Can you complete the reboot of your computer, close all the applications? Make sure you check internet connection. Make sure your camera is working, as most of the time you will be monitored. You can also ask provider about logistics. What is the test format? Is it multiple choice questions would you need to do any practice exercises, how many questions you will have, how test results are going to be scored, and what is the passing score, if any. You can also ask about using the calculator, using pen or paper. Is it allowed? Some test providers may not allow for you to use any one of those. And last but not least, if you're monitored, how do you use a bathroom? A lot of times when you're monitored, companies provide you with unlimited test duration. But you need to check how can you use bathroom to make sure your test results are not invalidated. Also, if somebody calls you or texts you, how would you respond to those? Checking those things ahead of time helps you succeed on the test.
Let me share with you some planning tips on how to maximize your test score during employment assessment test.
Let me give you some tips on how to maximize your test score results. Number one tip is to make sure you read the question carefully and you understand what is being asked. Another tip is reading answers in full to understand the answers. And before you jump to any solutions, make sure you read through all the answers. A lot of test-based applications allow you to save answers as you go. Make sure to click the Save button if this is applicable to you. This way you don't lose your test results. If it's possible, try to focus on the easy questions first. This would allow you to answer as many questions as you possibly can and leave harder questions for the end, but making sure that you put easy answers in, and you will get credit for all of them. Another important point is using all your time productively. If you have any time left, make sure you use this extra time to validate the answers and complete extra review of the challenging questions. Another tip might be for you to validate your answers with more than one method. For example, you can use the calculator, you can do manual calculations on the paper, use common sense that would supplement your mental calculations and answers for the question. Also, you can set up a timer if test is time. This way you know where you are in the test, and you can quickly plan and adjust based on how many questions are left on the test. And last but not least, make sure you can contact provider right away if you're experiencing issues.
Let's take a look at the test score results to see if you can better understand them.
Let me give you some recommendations how to best understand your test results. Some tests use percentages, some tests use percentiles. So what is the difference? For example, if you have 80% percentage passing rate, it means that you have to answer 16 out of 20 questions correctly. Or sometimes you might get test results indicating that you're in the 75th percentile, which means that you're better than 75% of other candidates. A lot of times on employment assessment test, there is no passing score. Typically, company uses test results to compare you with other candidates. This is why a lot of times it's very important to just submit whatever you know and complete the test. This way, you might be better off than a lot of other competition. And last point I would like to make is that there might be potential point reductions for incorrect answers. Make sure you ask the provider about incorrect answers and how they handle them, and then decide if you should guess on your answers. Very frequently, we get a question if usage of the calculator is allowed on the test. The best way is to ask the provider. Some providers allow for use of the calculator, and some of them are not. Make sure when you use the calculator that you learn how to use it in advance. Practice sample questions on the calculator and see if it actually helps you. And make sure that calculator has fresh batteries if it uses batteries, or bring charger and connect it right before the test. A lot of times you may need to learn new material faster and don't have a luxury to take a detailed online training course. Let me share with you some tips how to best use YouTube videos, which are obviously free, to get ready and prepare for the test. Number one, make sure you dedicate uninterrupted chunks of time to get ready. When your attention drifts, take a break. Download workbooks to repeat steps and try to watch the video from the beginning to end. This way, you make sure that you don't miss anything and you can come back to rewatch segments that may be unclear. And last tip is make sure to set the playback speed that works best for you, that keeps you engaged, that gives you time to absorb the content, and allows you to pause the video and try out the material using hands-on exercises. Very frequently, I get a question, how can you learn faster? Mixed mode learning is the most effective way to absorb the material. What does it mean? You use variations of different resources and you alternate between different sources. For example, you can watch YouTube video, then you can take practice test, then you can read related topic in the ebook, review answers, practice correct and incorrect answers, and then experiment with variations.
Thanks for watching. I encourage you to check out our daily question challenge in the community section of this channel. I also recommend that you check downloads in the description section of this video. Please also check out resources page on our website, howtoanalyzedata.net/resources. If you like the content, please give this video a big thumbs up. This tells us that you need more content like this. I would encourage you to share this video with other people that might be looking for the job. This will help them to get prepared and pass assessment test faster. Please consider subscribing and following this channel. We have a community of great people helping each other to get ready and pass the test. Please leave questions, comments, or suggestions in the comment section of this video. And all the best on your interview and assessment test. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Skills that you learn here will be helpful for you now and also in the future. You also get opportunity to help other people by answering their questions and helping them solve their challenges. If you like the content, please give this video a big thumbs up. This tells us that you need more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.